What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more commentated WotC-20 gameplay. Again, this is done in post, so this is blind live reactions, much like we would hope for actual tournament events. So we have Nidoking versus WotC-20 today, or Do the Wave, as you've probably heard it called. And right off the bat, 3 Clefas on board into an Elekid, which is not the rarest. Not the rarest card. It does see some splash play, but not a super common baby to see, and a Jigglypuff. Very fast Eek, and we pass over to Nidoking. I love both of these decks. I've piloted both of them. I think I was also the first to bring Nidoking to shop, so it was great to see it getting some adoption. So we will see probably aggression coming out of WotC-20 in the early turns, and we'll see how long it takes Nidoking to get set up. A Rainbow Energy drops onto the Cleffa for 10. We'll see if that matters with an Elekid. Elekid could get an early prize depending on what kind of luck we feel like playing with today. And a Comp Search early, probably for a Fan Club. A little bit of Hand Peep going for Nidoking. You can see a Warp, another Rainbow. And we're going to comp away one of those warps. Likely won't matter in this matchup. It's possible for WotC-20 to take a sleep route, depending on how the game is going, but likely that won't matter. And there is the Fan Club. I would expect us to see a Nidoran, at least, and we'll see what else they pull out. A little bit of Deck Peep as well going. But we'll probably see a supporting Mon. This deck does run the Steelix line as another attack option. It has grass coverage, or rather I should say grass resistance to cover the weakness of Nidoking. But instead we see a Furret pulled out, or a Sentret pulled out for Furret. I do not run Furret in my build, so it will be interesting to see how this plays out for this deck. It was a quick pass back to WotC-20, and now we've got another good Eek. So no tails so far, very good to see, a lot of quick action and setup going on. And another Fan Club is immediately put down, this time from the tough side. We'll probably see a Rocket Zapdos brought out. There is also a Sentret, so lots of Furret in this game. And yep, there's the Rocket Zapdos. Now, if Nidoking does get set up, that Rocket Zapdos might get stranded. We will see Plasma doing absolutely nothing to a Nidoking, and Electro Burn turns into not the most ideal attack when you're also damaging yourself and you have 30 resistance on what you're trying to hit. So keep an eye on that Zapdos. We'll see if it ends up doing anything. Most likely early turns if it gets set up, or it can pick off one of the Nidorans before it gets up to the final Evo stage of Nidoking. And now we're seeing what WotC-20 will try to do next. And attached to Zapdos is good. Could also bring that in and try to swing at it, or keep Cleffa active and swing with Elekid. That way, if you get a tails, it's not a guaranteed heads, or rather you wouldn't have to flip for heads with Cleffa on the Nidoking side next turn. There seems to be a Gust in hand, and there will be Zapdos brought up. Oh, maybe not. They're thinking about it. We have a WotC-20 in hand. I saw a Recycle Energy as well. So Zapdos will come up, and we're going to look for a Plasma kill instead of going for Elekid's Playful Punch. We hit a tail, so now it is likely to see a guaranteed Eek off of Nidoking, and the Onix comes down as well. So getting some good setup, good diversity on the board for Nidoking right now. And a Strength Charm onto the Onix. Strength Charm also very interesting when it does come to the Rocket Zapdos versus Nidoking game. Usually a Strength Charm can smooth over some of the flips. And now we've got some thinking. Nidorino comes down. Great card. If you do have a Rainbow on it, it can swing with its Grass attack, 10, and then flip to Poison. And there it is. There's a Rainbow. So poisoning something in the active slot can be very, very good if it has a high retreat cost like this Rocket Zapdos. But it looks like we're going to get the injured Cleffa out, put in a clean one that can't be one-shot, and it's a pass back to Tough. TCE in hand for Tough. I assume we're going to see that Jigglypuff evolved this turn. No reason not to. I'm going to analyze the board first. I'm trying to see if you're going to play Tough here, you're probably going to go as fast as possible. They do have a Gust. Okay, Gust comes out. I was thinking if they can get Tough online as soon as possible, Nidorino would be gustable for a kill with that 10 damage tagged to it in a very dangerous spot with only 60 HP. And now we're seeing an item finder, I assume for another fan club? Yep. Very curious to see what the one card pulled out will be, the way the bench already is. I assume it would be another Jigglypuff. Getting one Jigglypuff set up, having it swinging and active, and knowing there's one on the back end makes it very difficult to trade against that deck. And there's the Jigglypuff. All right, that is supported for turn. Not getting full value out of that fan club, but sometimes you don't need to. And again, for the active slots, Onix is not going to be able to do a lot of damage to Rocket Zapdos. So that was a good gust, especially knowing that there is a warp in bin. We'll see if this allows Wigglytuff to get more aggressive. The dangerous thing is bringing Wigglytuff in when it is set up. Onix is probably not what it wants to see on the other side of the board. Now we're going to Plasma here. That'll pull the one energy out of the bin. And... oh, yes, okay. So there is no, unlike Nidoking, which is the same type as Onix, there is no Lightning Res on the Onix, so it does tag 20. So if Wigglytuff can get energy on it, well, now it doesn't matter. All right, up to 100 HP now for that Steelix. Earth Rift Steelix is wildly good. Many decks run it. The whole joke with Nidoking is that it's actually just a Steelix deck. And now Gust comes up, so I assume there's no DCE or Furret available to try to take a Tuff out, but it's just going to be a defensive Gust, lock in the active on something that's not powered up and pass. There comes a DCE, so Tuff can get set up very quickly and into Elm, so no more trainers this turn, but we will get a full grip on Tuff's side. Not sure what they would be looking for off the Elm other than to go into next turn. You could obviously try to evolve. That's probably the best thing they could do. But they've already done it attached and there's no more trainers, so. A cut into 7, I assume this will be a pass. And then looking on the other side of the board, Steelix does love a wide board. If we do see a DCE, Nidoking will have a difficult choice in whether or not they attach it to Nidoking to try to win over time, or get aggressive with that Steelix with a Strength Charm down and 2 babies. All right, there is the sleep. So we're gonna roll sleep, see if we wake up. It's a tail, so Lullaby is gonna keep that Steelix where it is. Likely it would have stayed there anyway because it has a retreat cost of 4. And again, we know that there is already a warp in the bin. So Fighting Energy attaches to Nidoking. A lot of funny energy overlaps in the Nidoking deck, and Steelix is awake. Those Fighting Energies can allow Onix to ramp into a Body Slam. You can also use the rainbows in a bunch of ways for, there is metal in this deck. You can attach them to Steelix, of course, for heavy slam. But there's also, there's a few other ways you can go about energy in the deck. That being said, because you're dealing with a Stage 2 and the Steelix line and a support line in Furret, very energy tight. So energy removal, as we just see here, is going to be something that can give Nidoking a lot of stall and setup trouble. That's probably why Furret's in the deck. I think I said earlier, I like the Espeon line for bouncing energy instead of putting cards back into the deck. So now we're starting to tag damage on Steelix. Hopefully an attack can get off so that that Strength Charm doesn't go to total waste, but Steelix is 20 away from being dead, which you could also just go for, depending on what defensive options King has here, Elekid would be able to tag it from bench in theory. All right, straight to the Strength Charm, and they do get an Earth Rift off. There should be a flip to see if it can be used next turn, and that's going to be 20 to the whole board. It's a tail, so it cannot be used next turn, but looks like that Steelix is as good as knocked out right now. But that is a good amount of damage all around. We know Wigglytuff traditionally does not use a lot of healing, if any at all. And I think I got the name of Steelix's second attack wrong before. That is Iron Smash, but my point being between the Rainbow Energies and Metal, all of the Evo lines in this deck, from Onix to Steelix to the Grass types and Nidoran, they can all get their attacks off regardless of energy color, which is cool, but it just makes the list very tight. So Tuff has some choices to make here. Going to continue to power up the other Jigglypuff, which makes a lot of sense. Oh, there is a Goldberry in hand. Not very common to see for Tuff, but it makes a lot of sense with Rocket Zapdos. And we have the first prize of the game, taking out Steelix. And we are going to switch into Cleffa on the King side. Now, there is a chance that Nidoking could just pivot out of Cleffa, put Nidoking up front, and try to get double prizes off of the ability, because Elekid and Cleffa on a flip from Nidoking would grant those 2 prizes. More attaches to Rocket Zapdos instead of the other Jigglypuff. And I assume we're just going to see some aggressive swings on Tuff's side. Ooh, yeah. Now a gust. Okay. So not looking great for Nidoking. Being gusted when you aren't set up is going to hurt. Wigglytuff is doing what Wigglytuff does best here. Nidoking does have a very large 110 HP, but it cannot take a lot of swings from Wigglytuff. Most things can't. All right, Nidoking's Earth Rage, though, could grab 2 prizes here, so we'll see if that pays off. That was a risky gust. We see a trader in here now. I assume it's going to be for a Furret, and there's the Furret, so not sure. What you could do here, see if Earth Rage from Nidoking's ability grabs 2 prizes, and then warp out. Another trader. Back-to-back traders. Great card. See what they're pulling out. Probably another Nidoking for setup. Yep, down to the Nidorino. So with Furret on board, even though there's not a ton of energy for Nidoking, they're very much in this. It's just looking very, very strong on the Tuff side. But, you know, there's not a Wigglytuff in hand. You would have seen that evolve onto the bench last turn. And powering up the Zapdos instead of the other Jigglypuff kind of confirms that. All right, I assume we're going to see a very, very risky, or not risky at all, but a very swingy Earth Rage roll here. Yep, here we go. Bit of card text reading. This would be big, and it's not only for the 2 prizes you would get off the 2 babies, but oh, big tails. Okay, getting damage on that other Jigglypuff and the Sentret, getting those up to 30, even getting the other Zapdos, or the only Zapdos up to 30, would be a big deal for Nidoking if they were able to get that Earth Rage off. And there's a warp. Makes a lot of sense. Now, if Furret wasn't being run, you would be able to kind of loop your warps with Espeon at least, maybe get some cheeky Earth Rages off, keep the Cleffa retreating and coming back, but that is not the playstyle here, obviously, today. We see an Oak into a fresh 7. There's a Gold Berry in hand. I do not remember if I run that in my list. It's been a minute. I do remember putting in Healing Field, though, so we'll have to see if any stadiums come in. Tuff typically doesn't run stadiums, but stadiums are so common that usually it is beneficial to run at least one. And now we see Onix getting a Gold Berry. That's a big deal because we know Onix can trade with Wigglytuff with only a DCE. What do we have in hand here? Looks like another Nidorino and a Metal Energy. So Metal on the Onix wouldn't be the worst thing either, even though you're dealing 10 less damage because it's a fighting type. Being super effective in this format, dealing double damage is a big deal. Back into the Tuff side of things. Let's see. If they have any plus powers or strength charms for Zapdos, you could try to stick it to Cleffa here. It also makes perfect sense to just stay in with Tuff and Swing, but with only 60 HP, let's see, Onix would still need double heads if it was going to try to take a KO with Slam. Looked like a Comp Search was peeped at there for a second. And then, let's see, a full 60 from Wigglytuff, assuming no plus powers, assuming no strength charms. You would be looking at 20 to Onix after Berry pops into another 60, 80. So Onix would be able to trade with Tuff at its current HP. All right, we're losing a Cleffa and a Fan Club to Comp Search out something here. See if there's any other healings. We did know that Tuff did have a Gold Berry in hand at some point. Big turn. This decision could take a minute. Now, this Onix also on the bench for King does have 90 HP, so that's where some of the math was coming from before. And remember, when comp searching, you do not have to show what card you take out, although usually when you play a computer search, it's for a card that you want right in that moment. Not always, but I would say most of the time. Still deck peeping, maybe trying to figure out some prizing on the tough side. I see a warp in hand. I'd say here you just go for it, try to get a prize, go up by 2. Let's see, 30 on the Nidoking. That 110 HP body is mattering here. You wouldn't be able to gust it super easily. Because Tough can stack Strength Charm and Plus Power, you can get up to 80. That would be enough to take the Nidoking out. From what I saw in hand, though, we are missing at least 2, if not all of those 3 pieces to get that kill right now. Alright, looks like a card has been chosen. And still a Jigglypuff not set up, and no Furret found yet for the tough side. And boost energy in hand does mean that the other tough doesn't necessarily have to be set up on board, but it already has a DCE. We haven't seen any removals from the Nidoking side yet, so that's something to keep an eye on. And we have seen a fair amount of gusts already. Usually Wigglytuff has some extra room in its deck to run more gusts than most decks. You'll typically see 2. It's a fairly common number for the format. Tough sometimes runs 3. Big decision turn here. I would also be concerned with the Furret on Nidoking's side, just being able to grab a DCA out of the deck, throw Onix up, and possibly see it evolve into Steelix again, and then you're just dealing with Earth Rift again. And that would be a double prizer off of the Elekid and the Cleffa. That would also rapidly start to depower Wigglytuff's Do the Wave, so game state right now is very busy. Full boards. Looked like I just saw a healing field in Tough. That's not common. Good tech. Tough has seen some experimentation with other stadiums. I've tried Pokemon Tower in it, liked it quite a bit. There's the healing field, okay. Keep in mind, ooh, big tails, okay, so still 60 to Tough, but even with the heads, Onix can come in and swing with 80 off of double heads from Slam into Wigglytuff with the DCE, so probably not the biggest healing field tails going. Nidoking is not a single attach away from being able to attack itself. And now we're going to see if Cleffa gets knocked out. I believe that was a tail. Some of these dice, when they have special icons on them, it's not always clear if it's for a 6 or a 1, but clearly for the yellow dice on Tough side, that looks like, or it was just a very large 1 on that die. Can't quite tell from video quality. Steelix does come down, so now you're looking at that Earth Rage, or not Earth Rage, that's Nidoking, Earth Rift line that we were talking about before. Looks like Furret is putting 2 in the deck, and we are going to pull something out. I'd be very surprised. It's not a DCE, okay. So it looks like we're just going straight for Nidoking. That does make a lot of sense. We know that it'll pretty much prevent Zapdos from doing too much if it goes active. And eventually Earth Rage will tag those 2 babies that are damaged. If I were Tough, I would try to use Healing Field here and try to get some of those babies inactive, heal them up for 20, and then retreat them again. But I know that usually Tough does also run Warp, so it's not impossible, but it doesn't feel great if you take that line for Tough. You really want to be taking prizes. Another Healing Field attempt on Tough. And that Healing Field is not healing anybody. And was that a pass? Oh, okay. Maybe that wasn't for Healing Field. That might have been for the baby flip to try to attack the Cleffa. Tough might have just forgotten to hit Healing Field. It is very easy to forget when you're in a game state this tight. So we're on to King now. I do believe I see a Resistance Gym in hand for Nidoking, which makes the Rocket Zapdos math even funnier. If you do have a Resistance Gym down, which would knock out Healing Field, and you have a Strength Charm on Nidoking, you can usually one-shot the Rocket Zapdos through the Resistance if you hit a heads. Weird math, I know. but it's worth calling out that Nidoking does have that line. I'm going to read some more text here. For those who don't know, it's probably looking into the Nidoking attack. Giant Horn is a good attack for 2 fighting and a double colorless. You flip a coin. On heads, you're doing 80. On tails, you're doing 50. So, good amount of damage can always come off a Nidoking. Obviously, that math doesn't matter for Wigglytuff. The weakness will make that a one-shot every time. So, not only is Nidoking scary for your bench when it's active, it's also just scary in general for your active if it can attack. So, I know we were talking earlier, the energy removal that you can usually find in every single WotC-20 game ever played is very effective on Nidoking, but then you have to consider, do you want to remove metals from Steelix? It's very matchup dependent. Do you want to prevent Nidoking from attacking? You have to make those calls and they're difficult. So we see a Wigglytuff retreat, and hopefully we see a Healing Field attempt here. I know it was forgotten last turn. What do we drop in here? Another Goldberry onto the Rocket Zapdos. And another Goldberry on the Wigglytuff. So berries everywhere. Looks like we're going to Eek. Healing Field missed again, I think. Eek, hand goes in. Yep, so another pass on Healing Field. Don't forget your Healing Field flips, people. It could matter a lot, and a second Nidoking comes down. This one doesn't even have to attack. At some point, you can just Earth Rage down a bench, but if that is what Nidoking is doing, you can just throw something in active and Earth Rage won't touch it. That is only to bench. If you want to hit active with your bench spread, you're going to have to go to Steelix for an Earth Rift. So keeping that in mind is usually relevant. Let's see, here comes the Steelix. All right, so assuming there's going to be a Cleffa flip and there isn't going to be... Yep, okay, we're going to see if we hit through Cleffa here. No Gust. And that is a 6 on the Celebi heads. So that will take out Cleffa, that will take out Elekid. That is a lot of damage. Still needs to be a flip to see if it can be used next turn. We got some math going on here, some cross-team communication on how much damage is going everywhere. A little bit of confusion on Earth Rage rules, whether or not it was for Baby Flip or not. All right, we're getting there. Double prize turn. Not the ultimate rarity in this format, but certainly fun to see when it does happen. Now this roll is for the Earth Rage usage for next turn. That is what they're communicating out. Alrighty, let's see. So right now, if you're Wigglytuff, you have one Tuff that you took a DCE off to retreat, and you have a Rocket Zapdos that could start swinging, but that Nidoking resistance is probably going to prevent that from going too well. Alright, and heads, Earth Rift is online for next turn. Wigglytuff has to figure out if they're going to put up something that can't free retreat. Zapdos makes a lot of sense, at least for the Steelix matchup. Keeping in mind how many warps we've already seen, Steelix probably can't get out of there too easily. Although there is a Furret, so when you can just go into your deck and pull out whatever energy you want, normal or special, that Steelix isn't as stranded as it looks. What do we got here from Rocket Zapdos? All 4 lined up, so Electro Burn will be throwing 30 back at Zapdos if we see that attack come out here. Up to 60, Goldberry would pop down to 20. So it could definitely trade with the Steelix, but it would end up being, over the course of 2 turns back and forth, a prize for a prize. We're seeing a Comp Search down, getting rid of a Jigglypuff and a Cleffa. I would have liked to see that Cleffa to bench just to have the free retreating option, but when you're dealing with Nidoking and Steelix, I understand that putting down a baby is a little bit of a vulnerability game, but the Healing Field should be useful to have. We'll see here too if the Healing Field gets rolled on the Zapdos. That could allow for some clean, let's see. That would be a clean heal off the Goldberry if they get a heads from the Healing Field for Rocket Zapdos. Energy removal on the DCE. That does make sense if Earth Rift was going to swing next turn, but the bench Doesn't have a ton of babies on it, and also isn't full. Trying to figure out where to put another DCE, so Wigglytuff is back online, but that Nidoking's almost powered up, so I would have probably... It's a hard decision to make if you're using that energy removal on a fighting energy on Nidoking or on the Steelix. You know the Steelix you can trade down over time. Worst case scenario, Steelix puts your bench spread up to a point where Nidoking attacking anything will kill it, regardless of resistance weakness. Unless we see another Rocket Zapdos come down. Looks like there's a Recycle Energy in hand. Not a huge hand for Wigglytuff. I think I see 4 cards. Tough spot for Tough here. Still hoping that we see a Healing Field roll this turn. We've seen a lot of missed opportunity on the healing there. Now, if you are going to use that item finder, and it looks like Tough is thinking about it, what are you looking for? You're probably not going to pull out Furret. Ooh, a Copycat. How many in hand for King? That's a good sized hand. Looks like 8. Now with that 8, if you find a Furret, you can start getting energy out very easily. If there were 4 cards in hand, maybe it would have been good to see the item finder come out first, try to get the energy off of King's side a little more, and then bring the Copycat down, but Furret being on board is a big deal right now, of course. There's the removal anyway, probably either that is an extra copy, or it was found off the shuffle again, which is great news for Tough. And yeah, now it's hitting the fighting. Let's see, Nidoking doesn't run a ton of fighting energy. It runs enough. I'm trying to remember, I think it was around 8. Give or take. Actually, no, I think I only ran 4. Because you're really relying on the rainbows to smooth over the attachments. Alright, full board is back, or at least full bench is back, I should say. And there's an item finder. Big turn for Tough. I would just pull back out the energy removal. Completely energy screw that Nidoking if you can. Looks like we'll see a Gust into the Furret. Maybe Tough has a Strength Charm or a Plus Power here? And a Healing Field is remembered. Let's see. Big heal. And if this is for Electro Burn. Ah, right. Okay, Electro Burn will take out the Furret. No need for the Plus Power or Strength Charm. Great, great turn for Wigglytuff. Would have tried to see if there was one more removal available for King, or even just taking the DCE, leaving that on the Steelix and taking the other fighting off of Nidoking, because you know that super effective attack could matter in a later game state. Or rather, it would just break the game wide open, I think. Alright, plenty of cards in hand for Nidoking. I don't even know where to begin guessing on what they'll drop for it. Another fighting comes down. Let's see, there seems to be a rainbow in hand and a steel in hand. And now we're doing a bin check. Decks are getting thin. No Town Vs from either side yet. Still a good amount of prizes. We're at 4-4, so even prize parity. Let's see. Plenty of gameplay left as well, based on the timestamp, so. Alright. Ooh, mid fan club with 4 on the bench. Probably pulling out a Sentret. There it is. Probably deck peeping to see if that other Furret can even come out. Or if it's prized. Nidoking definitely has that information now, considering there's a Furret on top of the bin. I'm pretty sure it's only a 2-2 line given the tight energy requirements when you're running a stage 2 with a bunch of stage 1s. It's a lot of mons to fit in. And remember, there's only 20 trainer slots maximum for every deck in this format, hence WotC-20. A lightning attachment onto another Zapdos. Instead of the Jigglypuff, maybe that other Tough, if there was some deck peeping from computer searches earlier, or even a fan club, maybe it is known that there is a Wigglytuff in the prizes. That could be difficult if you're the Tough side. Looks like we're going to Electro Burn a Cleffa. Whew, that would be wild damage done to the Zapdos. 30, let's see. If 30 was done to the Zapdos 40, it would be a heads flip for Nidoking to come in and crack back for a prize. So high risk, high reward play right now. Nidoking with 30, still the most powered up one, a clean one on bench. Goldberry on Steelix is looking good, so still not a clear, nothing clear on how this is going to go yet. And what are we going to see here from Nidoking but a DCE going into active. Now, until they find another Furret, I'm not so sure they can get that Steelix out of active so easily unless there's a Warp in hand. I think I said there was a Rainbow and a Steel in hand, but we're looking at an Earth Rift right now. So that'll be 10 to everybody, and then a flip to see if Earth Rift will happen next turn. And this is where Healing Field will get interesting for sure. Now, Nidoking doesn't mind having Healing Field down, usually runs one itself. It's a double stadium deck with that Resistance Gym also available. And we got some damage markers down now. Cannot use next turn. That's a big deal because that Sentret on bench is one Earth Rift away from getting tagged off, and the Jigglypuff on bench with a DCE hasn't seen an energy attachment in many turns or an evolution at this point. That is a Earth Rift plus a Strength Charm away from getting knocked out, or just 2 Earth Rifts. So keep an eye on Healing Field. I think here you have to go Electro Burn. Healing Field for active. Yep, Electro Burn. All right, so we already saw Goldberry pop off this Zapdos. So the good news is Steelix doesn't have an easy way to take out Zapdos. That's the good news for Tough right now. After Goldberry, Electro Burn tagged 30, so only 100 on the Steelix for total HP. Another Electro Burn will do the trick. So big decisions for Nidoking this turn. Do you just take the trade and the prizes? Ooh, a Metal Energy, all right. That will allow it to survive. I probably would have liked to see a Healing Field roll there first, just to see if you have to dedicate the metal. But if they know they can get a Furret. Looks like we're going to Town V to get that Furret back. There might be a Furret prized then. That was the first snap grab to put into the pile, at least. If you are going to dedicate a medal, you must feel good about what you have in hand. It's either another medal, and you can start using the second attack, or you just don't want to rely on the luck of Healing Field. If you're not familiar with Steelix's second attack, Iron Smash is 2 coin flips. And if both are heads, it does 50 plus 20. If both are tails, it does nothing. If it's a split, 1 head, 1 tails, it does 50. So Iron Smash, perfectly respectable attack in its own right. Now I did see King roll a tails there. I assume that was for healing. No, that was for Earth Rift, obviously. So maybe that was a missed Healing Field too? We missing Healing Fields left and right here on the board? All right, and it looks like we're going to see Zapdos pulled out of active. Pretty sure there was a... Oh, no, there was not a kill unless you could find a plus power or a strength charm. We haven't seen any from Tough, I don't think, so maybe they aren't being run, maybe in favor of those Goldberries. Those were cut from the deck. There is enough damage usually pushed out from Wigglytuff for that. And Tough comes in. That Steelix is super injured. All right, Tough is still looking okay. I think we had a Tails for Earth Rift last turn, so the Sentret should be fine. Nidoking now fully powered up on the bench. See if we see any giant horns this game. No, they did not roll Tails. That is going to take out a Sentret, isn't it? Yeah, that's a big deal. All right, Nidoking is now up on prizes. Wigglytuff will be able to take a prize right back, so we can go straight back to prize parity. Rolling here anyway to see if Earth Rift can be used again. Looked like it was a 2. Re-roll because it was on the deck, back to a 1. Tails, doesn't really matter here. I think that Steelix is going to the bin. Here comes Elekid. And now we're Town V-ing back. Let's see, Sentret, Jigglypuff, a Lightning Energy, a Cleffa, big mix here. But you know that Nidoking is sitting on bench, and even though it is 70 HP away from being knocked out, it's gonna come on in and easily take out a Wigglytuff. So if you're Town V-ing and filling your deck with cards that aren't Strength Charm or Plus Power, I assume they are not run in this list. There's also, of course, the oddities of Healing Field. If Nidoking gets ahead on Healing Field, that's obviously going to matter. But the other thing you got to worry about is Nidoking's ability taking out the Cleffa with 2 on it already. I think you just got to... I think at this point when you're playing to outs, you're looking for just double Tails. Tails on a Healing Field, Tails on an Earth Rage if you're tough, and just swing right now. Healing Field, but that's not going to matter if Nidoking comes in. And another retreat instead of a KO. Seeing a DCE discarded never feels good, and that will be the Wigglytuff to take the kill. It will at least put a recycle back in the hand if this Wigglytuff is revenge killed by Nidoking. I'd be surprised if that's not what we see. Here comes King. So another chance at Earth Rage to grab a prize mid-turn. And that Healing Field roll is a big deal, but like I said before, I don't believe there are any Strength Charms or Plus Powers coming in on the tough side here. Healing Field for King, big roll. Heads, okay, well, now there is no surefire one-shot coming from the Wigglytuff side, if it was possible. And I'm waiting for the other big roll. Let's see Earth Rage. Seeing what to put down onto bench. There's a Steelix in hand. I did not see what that... Maybe it wasn't going to bench. Did not see what the card, considering being thought there was. Very nice bin peep from Nidoking to camera. Thank you for that. You can see some of the lists there. 2 Shamans, for example. It looks like they were maybe going to do a computer search for something. So they were bin checking. Another Steelix in hand, but I'm pretty sure... Alright, let's see. What are we discarding here? 2 Cleffa. Whew. 2 Cleffa on bench, 2 Cleffa in the bin. And 1 halfway there. Pulls out the Furred again. Alright. Energy will not be a problem once again for King. I do believe the hand is plenty big enough to also use Furret without feeling like the hand is getting thinned down too much. There's also a Cleffa there if they need to refill, but Nidoking staying active as long as possible, I'm sure. Tails on the Earth Rage, so Cleffa stays alive on the bench. Bighorn is going to come into Wigglytuff's face, and that is now 2 prizes remaining for Nidoking. Elekid up front for Baby Stall. Now, what are you doing here if you're Wigglytuff? You're probably hoping for a DCE for Tough, which we did see. I haven't been counting how many in bin. We might be out of DCEs. That was a big Healing Field for Nidoking. There is a boost in hand, so it's not that Wigglytuff can't come in and swing, but it's not going to get a kill. Recycle, Cleffa, boost, and Goldberry in hand. Looking very dire for Do the Wave here. Nidoking did not drop that Resistance Gem. So that does make Rocket Zapdos very barriered by Nidoking currently. We're definitely too far away from any sort of stall tactics in terms of deck out for either side. Nidoking is sitting very pretty. Now, because Elekid is back, I'm not entirely... I do believe Elekid applies weakness and resistance off of its ability Playful Punch, so that is also completely walled by Nidoking. It's a tight matchup, becoming extremely relevant. This is usually favored for Nidoking, so that shouldn't be too surprising. Hard decisions being made here. Bringing Tough in, is this the boost? Cleffa down into boost, just mark damage. With 110 HP on Nidoking, a full bench, swing to 60, goes up to 80. You would still have to find a way to deal 30 to Nidoking the following turn, even if Healing Field is a Tails for Nidoking this turn. I'm not seeing a great path for Wigglytuff to get that follow-up kill. Alright, DCE comes down to the other Nidoking. This does look to be getting out of control. Nidoking on Earth Rage. We'll see if this Cleffa makes it again. Turn after turn of bench spread. Again, Earth Rage not looking very promising. And I believe that Pichu heads is a 6. So, Healing Field hits for the Nidoking. Earth Rage does not. We have a kill on board, which would put us down to 1 prize for Nidoking. They're probably going to take it on active, just thinking ahead on the next couple turns. See what they have in hand. See if they can start setting up and plan out both prizes in the same turn here. That will be a kill. All right, Cleffa up. Now, if you are going to try to get Zapdos into Electro Burn territory, that's still not enough to take out Nidoking. 110 and 120 often feel very similar. Let's see if Wigglytuff can come up with anything here. Eking for answers. See if they pull anything out of that 7, but Nidoking's hand is so big, and with a Furret on the table, the other Nidoking will be in the back, so anything that can come in on Nidoking is going to have to deal with a couple of them. I think, too, having the damage from Earth Rage slowly ticking away on those Rocket Zapdoses on the bench means that if you do drop a Resistance Gem on top of this Healing Field to remove it, it kind of acts like a double plus power, and giant horn rolls might not even matter. Another Tails. So that could have been the game there off the ability just to take the Cleffa off the bench, but this seems pretty wrapped up. This was another all-in-one-go take of a game that has never been seen before, so please leave feedback and comments on the video if this is working, what isn't working. Tried to have some cards and text pulled up ahead of time just so I could get names and card text right. But yeah, leave us your feedback, see how you're liking it. We will do as many of these as we reasonably can fit into our schedule, but if not, we'll always keep the regular uploads with shop audio turned on, if not layered under this. And it looks like we're just drawing out some long finishing turns here. This should be all wrapped up. Furreting a Fighting Energy, pretty thin deck. Deck Peep probably knows what the final prize is by now. I mean, at this point, you could also, if you really want to end it this turn, you can retreat that Nidoking, try the other Earth Rage. What are the chances that you don't hit a single heads on that ability? And it can swing, too. Probably not great to get that cute. Discarding 3 is not a good idea. If anything, Tough would love to see energy off the board, but just saying, if you're desperate, it's an option. Not sure what King's thinking so hard about here. Hit a heads and send us home. Oh, he is going for it. Oh, no. All right. Big heads. And then an attack on the baby. This makes sense. The odds that you hit something, yep. There's the heads for Earth Rage. Takes out the Cleffa. That's the final prize. Makes sense. Take the retreat. Try not to hit the double. Try not to hit a double tails. So coin flips as always. Very WotC. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like. It does help us a lot. And yeah, keep feedback coming. Thank you.